God for the deep state. I mean, I think, you know, everyone here has seen this progression of diplomats and intelligence officers and White House people trooping up to Capitol Hill right now and saying, these are people who are doing their duty, who are responding to a higher call.
Once decried as nothing but a right-wing conspiracy, to some now sounding legit thanks to current and former intel officials themselves. A former acting CIA director there saying Americans should be thankful for the deep state. Obama CIA Director John Brennan was also there at the event embracing the concept. Let's turn to National Security Attorney Bradley Moss and former Deputy Assistant Attorney General John Yoo for more. Gentlemen, good to have you with us on this Friday night.
Shannon. Good evening, Shannon.
Okay, the New York Times talking about this issue of President Trump and the deep state says the deep state has emerged from the shadows in the form of real live government officials, past and present, who have defied a White House attempt to block cooperation with House impeachment investigators and provided evidence that largely backs up the still anonymous whistleblower. John, your reaction?
I think there is undeniably a break now between the president and the intelligence community. But I don't think it's because the intelligence community is necessarily safeguarding the republic from a rogue president. I think this break goes back to the very beginnings of Trump's entry into office, when the head of the FBI, Jim Comey, deliberately tried to provoke the president into taking steps that would lead to the appointment of an independent counsel. And then you have people like Brennan and Jim Clapper, the heads of the intelligence community under President Obama, going out on television and attacking a sitting president. I can't think of a time that's happened before where they even accuse President Trump of acting like he's a Russian intelligence agent. So because of things like that, I don't necessarily blame President Trump for being suspicious of the intelligence community and whether it's actually trying to oppose his agenda.
Well, in the meantime, with that tension out there, as it were, Bradley, we understand that the U.S. Attorney, John Durham, who is conducting a probe into the origins of the Russia investigation, we're told that he plans to interview or wants to interview folks like Brennan and Clapper.
Well, that certainly would be, legitimate. It would be what you would expect if it is this wide-ranging investigation that we've been told, if it's looking into anything and everything that went down in terms of how the counterintelligence investigation was conducted, the original predicate for it, whether or not all rules were followed and complied with, whether or not the laws were complied with. I have no problem with that, and I'm sure John Brennan and James Clapper will happily sit down for those interviews. But in the end, what John Brennan was saying, they're playing into the president's game because they know it gets under the president's skin. The president's been talking about the deep state for 3 years. You call someone the deep state for so long, eventually they're just going to play into the game and say, sure, yeah, we're the big evil deep state. Watch out for us. We're like the boogeyman.
Well, to folks out there who have been raising that phrase and been talking about it for months, if not years, it's interesting that now it's being embraced publicly. Okay, so let's talk about Timothy Morrison, because we're going to have a few more of these depositions behind closed doors and before the Democrats take this public, the next phase of their impeachment inquiry. There's been a lot of debate over Timothy Morrison's his testimony yesterday, because, of course, we don't know. It's all behind closed doors. We'll eventually get the transcripts, we hope. But both sides seem to be sort of celebrating about this. Here's something we're told that he said. This was Fox obtained part of his opening statement. He said, I want to be clear. I was not concerned that anything illegal was discussed because, John, he was actually on the phone call. The right and the president's supporters are celebrating this guy and saying, like, he kind of defangs the whole argument here.
I think actually that's too narrow understanding of impeachment. You don't have to commit a crime to be impeached. The phrase is treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. I think the founders thought that also included abuse of power. But on the other hand, I think Morrison doesn't add that much new. I think we already have pretty much the facts of what happened because of the White House's release of the phone call transcript. It sounds to me like there was some kind of implicit quid pro quo. Ukrainian military aid in exchange for Ukraine starting some kind of investigation into the Bidens. The real question that we really ought to be debating is not whether someone was on the call or someone was not on the call, but is this a high crime and misdemeanor worthy enough to remove a president within a year of an election?
Yeah, that's the question. Now, the Wall Street Journal editorial board, to your point about quid pro quo, says this: Democrats want to impeach Mr. Trump for asking a foreign government to investigate his political rival for corruption, though the probe never happened, and for withholding aid to Ukraine that in the end wasn't withheld. The impeachers have the burden of showing why this shouldn't all be left to the judgment of American voters in 2020. Bradley, final word to you.
Is the president so special that he's exempt from the same kind of criminal elements we usually use to put other people in jail? It's called a conspiracy charge. We have all kinds of people in jail who never actually successfully committed the crime. They still tried. If the Wall Street Journal's piece was basically saying he's too inept to pull it off, guess what? He's still the president. So unless we're going to take away his authority, which I'm not suggesting, you have to go through with the impeachment process one way or the other. You don't get to make special rules just because you're incompetent.
Yeah, I think what they were saying was not that, but just that none of this actually came to fruition. So as John said, there's a lot of room there to discuss what equates to a high crime and misdemeanor. The House is on that project, and we'll continue tracking it. Bradley and John, thank you both. Have a great weekend.
You too.